Hello, I'm James Ezimoha. Welcome to Africa News, where we bring you the latest updates from across the African continent. Let's see your headlines. Foreign ministers from Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo are set to sign a peace deal in Washington, D.C. Kenyan officials say demonstrators tried to overthrow the government with violent protests in Nairobi. Unknown gunmen kill 17 soldiers in northern Nigeria. The Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda are set to sign a peace agreement in Washington, D.C. on Friday, aimed at ending a long-running conflict in eastern Congo. The deal brokered by the U.S. government comes after nearly 4 years of fighting between Congolese forces and the M23 rebels. Chris Ocharimga has more from Kinshasa.
A long-awaited peace agreement will be signed by the Congolese and Rwandan ministers of foreign affairs in the U.S. capital. The deal requires both countries to cease hostilities, disarm, and respect each other's territorial integrity. It also includes economic cooperation and the conditional integration of non-state armed groups in the DRC army. Some analysts regard the peace agreement as a major step towards ending the fighting between Congolese forces and the M23 rebels. The clashes have claimed thousands of lives and displaced millions of people in eastern DRC since late 2021. The DRC government and UN experts accused Rwanda of backing the M23 rebels. Rwanda has in turn accused the DRC of supporting a militia of ethnic Hutus who are seeking to destabilize its government. Both countries have denied the accusations. The U.S. government is also set to sign a separate minerals for security deal with the DRC government that will allow U.S. firms to access the DRC's strategic minerals in exchange for military support. Some analysts say the U.S. brokered deal may help bring an end to the fighting, but start the exploitation of Congolese resources. Chris Ochamringa for A News in Kinshasa.
Kenya's Interior Minister Kipchumba Murkomen says the recent protests were more than civil unrest. In a press briefing, he said the violent protests that rocked Nairobi and other cities on Wednesday were an attempt at regime change. At least 10 people were killed, which was sparked by anger over police brutality and marked the anniversary of last year's deadly protests. Demonstrators denied the accusations. However, Murkomen accused protesters of looting, assault, and starting fires.
It was terrorism disguised as dissent. There was no peaceful demonstration. It was riots, chaos, and anarchy. Let me therefore state unequivocally that we condemn the criminal anarchists who, in the name of peaceful demonstrations, unleashed a wave of violence, looting, sexual assault, and destruction upon our people. This is nothing to do with protests. This is nothing to do with freedom of expression. It was an unconstitutional attempt to change the regime of this republic. And this is therefore, yesterday what the police did to foil was they were able to foil an attempted coup. And since there's no one who is going to defend our police officers, I want to speak authoritatively here. I thank you, our police officer, for a job well done against the extreme provocation.
A day after mass protests swept through Kenya, business owners in Nairobi are picking up the pieces. Many shops were looted or burned as demonstrations turned violent. Meantime, officials have accused protesters of attempting to overthrow the government.
In the aftermath of Wednesday's demonstrations in Kenya, charred buildings and wrecked businesses now line parts of central Nairobi. The protests, originally held to mark the anniversary of last year's unrest, escalated after the death of a blogger in police custody. While many rallied for justice and reforms, shop owners say they were caught in the crossfire, with some losing thousands of dollars worth of goods.
It's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard. Only my problem is no job for now. No job for now. Look, everything is the ban. Yeah? So please, government, try talking of the agency, because All this is happening there because of the GNC. So the GNC just try to sit down then to talk to the government.
You see, we had to close. So yesterday we didn't report as we are expecting this Maternal. So we feared our shops might be broken or your safety also. So we decided not to come yesterday. So we never came yesterday because of lack of fear.
Things are so tough in our country right now. Sometimes you come morning until evening and you've not sold. And to remember this is something we invested for so long. So until you recover, it takes a period of time.
Kenya's private sector groups have condemned the destruction and called for immediate mediation, warning that continued unrest could paralyze small businesses, the backbone of the country's economy. Meantime, government officials have accused protesters of attempting to overthrow the government. However, protesters say they want accountability and justice.
Armed gangs in Nigeria have killed 17 soldiers in the country's northern states of Niger and Kaduna. Coordinated attacks were launched by unknown gunmen against army bases in areas long plagued by violence. Our correspondent Tassima Kande reports from Jos, Nigeria.
Around 300 armed men took part in the attacks, according to a spokesperson for the Nigerian army. The coordinated assault lasted for about 3 hours and occurred in 2 separate locations. The attacks were repelled by both ground troops and Air Force personnel, providing aerial support. 17 soldiers died and 10 others sustained varying degrees of injury and have been taken to a military facility where they are receiving medical attention. Niger State, characterized by massive forest, has been a hideout for criminal gangs who engage in kidnapping for ransom and cattle rustling. Last year, military authorities confirmed 6 military personnel were killed by criminal gangs whilst protecting lives and properties in the state. Authorities say they are working towards restricting the open grazing of cattle, which are often targeted by rustlers. They have also asked local communities to report suspicious activity, assuring them that the offensive against the criminal elements will be sustained. Tassim Akendi for A News in Jos.
Nigeria accounts for the highest number of maternal-related deaths in Africa, making it one of the worst places to give birth in the world. United Nations says 1 woman out of 100 dies during labor or days after delivery in the country. Health experts say poverty, insufficient number of nurses and doctors are part of the problem. Tassima Kande brings us this exclusive report.
32-year-old Christopher Musa and his wife are parents to 2 boys, aged 6 and 4, who were both delivered at home. The parents say they couldn't afford to pay for medical care in hospitals during delivery.
I believe going to the hospital has its benefits, but we didn't have money, so my mom took charge and took the delivery. There were no complications except for my first child who had jaundice. We exposed him to sunlight for some days and all was well.
Natural deliveries at health centers in Nigeria cost about $50 to $100, while cesarean sections cost about $300 to $800 depending on the hospital, and many people can't afford it. According to the World Bank, about 1,000 women out of 100,000 in Nigeria die from pregnancy-related complications annually. That's the highest in Africa, and next only to India globally, far from the United Nations target of reducing global maternal mortality rate to below 70 deaths by 100,000 births by 2030.
We have reduced manpower, people, healthcare workers are leaving the country, the ones that are available are overworked, so all that can contribute to the amount of care this pregnant woman will have and increase the risk of maternal mortality and crisis. Also, we have cultural beliefs. There are some cultures that believe that a woman should give birth at home, and then there are some cultures that insist that before a woman can do anything, her husband has to be around to give permission.
The World Health Organization recommends 1 doctor for 600 people to enable a functioning healthcare system in a society. But Nigeria's Medical Association says the ratio is now 1 doctor for every 10,000 patients, far below the WHO recommendation, thereby worsening the maternal health crisis in the country. Last year, the country's Ministry of Health said the health workers are leaving the country to practice their professions abroad for better pay. Health experts are advocating improved pay for healthcare workers and subsidized healthcare at centers as measures to address the maternal health crisis in the country.
The government should first take responsibility for its people by enacting policies in all the geopolitical zones to ensure that each local government, each ward has a well-equipped medical facility that can take care of a pregnant woman from the beginning of her pregnancy to the end of that pregnancy, and then making sure that they are well equipped, and then for the health workers, making sure that they are properly taken care of.
The government says it is revitalizing its primary healthcare centers across the country and has earmarked over $150 million for the project. It has also made cesarean sections free for those who can't afford it at health centers. Authorities at the Ministry of Health say they have also recruited about 2,500 doctors, nurses, midwives, and community health extension workers to educate and take care of people on things like maternal health care as part of measures to improve the situation in the country. Tashim Akendi for A News in Jos.
Still in Nigeria, a young artist is transforming how people experience portrait painting. Adebayo Sheun's speed painting performances are drawing attention both locally and internationally. His latest act is a portrait of a music icon. Take a look.
In Nigeria's capital, 30-year-old artist Adebayo Sheun is gaining recognition for his upside-down speed portraits, completed in just minutes. Nicknamed the Diligent Artist, he combines fine art with live performance, captivating audiences with spontaneous shows. Sheun began painting live during church services and now appears at major public events. He says speed painting helps him make art more accessible and engaging for viewers with limited time.
I'm a painter, so how can I actually make this like in a performative way? So I might not actually really have luxury of time to do realism painting, but we can do something like this, like an analytical painting that suggests what's the striking resemblance. So I have to like discipline myself to like learn how to do this. It's not actually easy to, to do a painting in 2 minutes.
Sheun says painting upside down heightens suspense and delivers a powerful visual payoff for the audience.
For me to start doing it and it's looking like the person on the spot, people can actually predict that, oh, this is doing this person, this is what he's trying to, but by the time I'm doing it upside down and people cannot actually predict what I'm doing. Like, is it going to make it? Is it making any sense? So by the time I turn it, there's this sharp resemblance, there's this striking wow. So there's this wow factor, wow. So all along he has been doing this person.
Sheun's rapid-fire brushstrokes and dramatic reveals are earning him fans across Nigeria and beyond. His art form reflects a new wave of African creativity, rooted in tradition, but boldly pushing new boundaries on stage.
Well, that's all we have today in African News. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to A News.